Hello there and welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, then welcome. I wanted to sit down today and talk about my top 20 neutral eyeshadow palettes. I love neutral eyeshadow. That is my favorite type of eyeshadow to wear. I just find that it's simple. It's just easy to throw on a really quick look. Now, I know that many neutral palettes can look very similar to each other, of course, but in this video I did want to include different price points of palettes, different sizes. I have some mini palettes, I have some larger size palettes, affordable palettes, as well as more expensive palettes. I wanted to find something for everybody, and these are palettes that I really do truly love, that I use all the time. Some of them are a little bit newer to me, but I find that I'm reaching for them constantly. And this video will be going up on the day that the Sephora sale starts, and if you are looking to purchase from the sale, I know not everyone is really interested in the sale, and it kind of does depend on which tier you're in, but if you are looking to shop from it, and in particular for eyeshadow palettes, then I think some of these options that are available at Sephora are a perfect choice. So if all that sounds interesting, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I want to start out with Drugstore eyeshadow palettes, but I will have timestamps listed for you below in case you want to skip around. I'll be including swatches of all of these palettes so you can see them up close. And I am just starting from the smallest palette to the largest in each category. But before I get in with my first choice, I do want to give an honorable mention from the Drugstore, and that is the e.l.f. Cosmetics Bite-Size Eyeshadow Palette in Rose Water. That is one of my favorite little mini palettes from e.l.f. Cosmetics. I think the quality is so nice. I love the color tones. It's very similar to what I'm wearing here on my eyes today, which I will get into later on in the video. It's very similar color story to this. Unfortunately, mine, I dropped it on extremely hard floor and it shattered, and I haven't picked it up again, but I definitely want to pick it up very soon. But the first palette I want to talk about here is from CoverGirl. This is their Clean Fresh, Clean Color eyeshadow palette, and this one is Shimmering Beige. I think that out of all the eyeshadow that I've ever tried from CoverGirl, I think the formula that they have in these little palettes is some of the best. The mattes are very soft, they're very buildable, the shimmer shades are really pigmented, just a really lovely formula overall. And they have several color options with these palettes, and if they have one that you really do like, I definitely recommend picking it up. These are excellent quality at the drugstore. The next one is also from that same line from CoverGirl. This one is in Dreamy Pink. I really love pinky neutral tone palettes. I just think that there's something about them that is just really so lovely. And I don't know for sure because I don't have the alternative, but I heard that this color scheme from CoverGirl is a color dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk quad. Now, I don't own the Charlotte Tilbury quad, so I can't confirm that. Maybe you can find a video somewhere referencing that where they have both of these palettes and are swatching them side by side. I don't have that other palette, and I know there's a significant price jump there. I think these are maybe between $9 to $12. I can't remember the exact price of them. I know it varies by retailer. And I want to say the Charlotte Tilbury is, what, $55 or $54, somewhere in that range. So a huge savings if this is in fact a dupe for it. But regardless of whether or not it is, it's a beautiful color scheme. And if you love pinky neutrals, it's definitely one to try. Okay, the next one is from Wet n Wild, and this one is definitely a classic. This is their Walking on Eggshells eyeshadow palette. I know this palette has gotten a makeover several times. I want to say it started maybe originally as a trio, and then it was a quad. I know for sure it's a quad because I have, or did have, the older version of this palette. I'm not sure if I decluttered that one or not, but this is the version that you can buy currently, and I think this is just a very perfect staple palette. It's just simple, it's straightforward. Any everyday shade you could possibly want is right here, and it's it's compact, so it'd be perfect for travel. The thing with the CoverGirl palettes, I don't know if they'd be suitable for travel or not, because the formula is so soft they might be more prone to breaking. I don't know, I don't really travel much, so I can't speak to that, but I feel like this would be a more sturdier option if you are someone who travels a lot. But definitely a classic for a reason, one of my favorites from Wet n Wild. I use it very consistently, and I do really enjoy this one. Okay, the next one is a little bit more pricier for the drugstore. However, every now and then you can get this brand on discount at Ulta, and that is the Flower Beauty palette. This one is Desert Lights. I was very late in trying this eyeshadow palette, and I am so sad that I was, because the formula in here is incredible. When people say that this looks like liquid metal on your eyes, they are definitely not exaggerating. This is one of the most beautiful shimmer metallic formulas I have tried thus far, and I'm including my high-end eyeshadow palettes as well. I think that this is such a lovely color scheme. I know that there are 3 other options. I know she recently launched 2. The Jungle Lights, I had ordered that one, but unfortunately with Ulta's shipping, it come broken twice and I just gave up after that. But I would love to purchase the other 3, but maybe I'll purchase them from Flower Beauty's website or something. But this is beautiful. It is worth all the hype. It is just one of the most stunning palettes that I own, and it definitely had to be included in this video. I believe it's about $20, but like I said, if you are willing to take a chance at Ulta with their shipping, I know occasionally they will do some sales or maybe offer a coupon or something that you probably could get this at a discount, but either way, full price or sale price, this palette is worth every penny in my opinion. This next one, this is the ColourPop That's Taupe eyeshadow palette, and if you love these really cool tone, more neutral leaning shades, this is definitely an excellent choice to make. I really do love this palette, and when I first got it, I wasn't quite sure if I would or not, because I used not to be so much into cooler tones because I always gravitated more towards warm tones. I have more of a warm undertone in my skin, so that's usually what I go for. But I'm so glad that I gave this palette a try. I really love this palette. It's perfect for quick everyday looks. You can definitely go even more smokier with it if you want. I like the options you have, and you do also get more of like, I believe this is like a Super Shock shade in this palette if I'm not mistaken, which it's so pretty. Really beautiful formula. ColourPop's formula is usually pretty good with their palettes. I think I've only ever tried one palette that I really wasn't that impressed with the formula, but other than that, excellent quality, and in my opinion at a very nice price range. I believe I saw where ColourPop is going up on some of their prices, but still the quality is there, and you definitely can't go wrong with this pretty little 9-pan. I think a 9-pan palette does give you some little bit more of a range to create multiple eye looks with it, and this is definitely one to try if you were into these more neutral, cool tone looks. Next, this one is from e.l.f. Cosmetics. This is their Perfect 10 eyeshadow palette in Nude Rose Gold. I really adore this palette. I've used it a lot since I purchased it. I do have a video on this palette, as well as some of these palettes I have videos on, and if I do, I will either link them for you above or below in the description box in case you want to see them in action on the eyes. I know I have a video with this one for sure. I did a couple of looks with it, but this is such a lovely palette. And if you like their bite-sized eyeshadow palettes, I believe this is supposed to be the same formula. They reformulated these palettes. I know they originally came in like a black packaging, I think, and now they reformulated them like this. I really love this palette. I love these types of shades that have some of those rosy neutrals in there yet again. Really excellent quality, blends out effortlessly on the eyes. No issue whatsoever. And I do love this take on adding more shades to like the bite size, like extending it and making a 10-pan, because then I feel like you get even more range to do some eyeshadow looks. I know with the bite size you can pair them up together and make more significant looks, but it's nice having the options in just one palette, and this is of really great quality. I love this palette from e.l.f. This next palette, I really believe this might be my most favorite ColourPop palette that I have tried yet. This is the 1111 eyeshadow palette, and oh, it's so pretty. It is so beautiful. There's something about this palette that, you know, the theming is angel, and I can definitely see that in this palette. There's something so angelic, so ethereal, neutral in this palette, and the formula is amazing as always. I believe this shade right here is one of those new glitter shades that they have, so I know some people don't really like glitter shades included in palettes, so I did want to bring that up. But overall, the formula is amazing in this palette. I love that you have a range. You have this more white shimmery shade, and then all the way here to this really deep matte that has some sparkle into it. I just really love this palette. I've used it so much since I've gotten it. I have a video on this palette as well where I am comparing it to the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude and the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes palette. So if you want to check that out, I have that for you there. But just a lovely palette overall. Just so stunning. I mean, from the packaging to all of this, just simply lovely. Now the next palette, I think this might be the most expensive palettes that ColourPop offer, but I feel like they are definitely worth it because you get such a variety, and that is the Bare Necessities palette, and you just get so many beautiful neutral tones. I mean, all the way from light to mid-tone to deep shades. This is just a perfect palette. And if you're someone that maybe you don't want many smaller eyeshadow palettes, you want a larger neutral palette with everything, then this is a perfect option. And I know that ColourPop does all kinds of deals and sales with these palettes. I know they recently had one where you could get 2 of the mega palettes for $48, I believe. I think they usually retail for $30, $35 a piece, but either way, I think that they're definitely worth every penny. I love these. There might be some shade overlap in these palettes, maybe, if you really look hard enough. But for me, I don't personally mind that because I feel like, well, if I ever do hit pan on one of the shades, well, then I have one that's similar to it, and I just can keep continuing to use the palette. But this is definitely, I mean, a staple palette. This used to be my top favorite ColourPop palette, and I still do really love this palette. I do love that 1111 palette though. I love the size of that one. I think that's just a nice, you know, maybe little mid-size palette that's just perfect. It's not too overwhelming. I know some larger palettes can be, but I think this is a very lovely palette. One of my top favorites. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't already. And the last one right here for the drugstore, and also another ColourPop. I think ColourPop knows how to do these neutrals. That is the Stone Cold Fox palette, and this is definitely, if you are into cool tones and more of these neutral leaning tones, then this is definitely the palette for you. And I think this is a perfect companion palette to the Bare Necessities palette, because between the two of them, I feel like you'd have every neutral shade you could possibly want. So if you're someone that maybe you just want 2 palettes in your life that are neutrals, both of these are really great options. And like I said, sometimes ColourPop does those deals where you can get 2 for $48. I think that's an amazing deal if you want to pick any of these up, especially if there are 2 you've been eyeing. I know I would really like to get the Smoke and Roses palette because that has some of those rosy neutrals in it, and I would love to pick that one up. But just really excellent, beautiful quality overall. No issues with blending. The formula is nice. The mattes, the shimmers, everything are really pigmented, really beautiful. They look beautiful by the end of the day. Definitely one to check out as well. Okay, next we are going in with the more high-end eyeshadow palettes, and some of my top favorite palettes of all time are included in these next ones. But the first one I want to talk about is this one from Natasha Denona. This is her Mini Starlit eyeshadow palette, and oh, this cute little palette. This is just absolutely stunning. I love the quality in this palette. I think Natasha Denona's formula in general is really nice. The mattes are pigmented, the shimmer shades are. I find the formula really easy to work with. And these shades right here are definitely right up my alley. I love tones like this. Some of these shades lean more like the pinky peachy, which I really love so much. I do have a video on this palette as well in case you are interested in seeing some looks with this palette. Just simply stunning. I know that it is really simple, and I love that about it. I love the simplicity of this little eyeshadow palette. Perfect, another perfect palette for travel, for on the go, or if you are someone who maybe you are a minimalist when it comes to eyeshadow and you just want maybe 1 or 2 little eyeshadow palettes, this is definitely one to go for. If you love shades like this, I really do adore this palette. It's just simply stunning. Okay, the next palette is the one that I am wearing on my eyes today, and that is the Urban Decay Naked 3 Mini Eyeshadow Palette. I just love and adore this little palette, and I think that the Urban Decay, the Naked 3 palette, the larger one, I think that would be my favorite out of the Naked palettes from Urban Decay, because I don't think the Wild Greens palette is from their Naked line. I believe that's separate. So I love that palette as well. So if that is one of the Naked, well, then that would be my favorite, but I don't believe it is. But if we're just talking about the original Naked palettes, then the third one would be my favorite because it has some of these more rosy, neutral, these really beautiful cool tone shades. And if you love the larger palette, then I think this is a really nice palette to have too. Perfect for travel, just really compact, really easy to work with, blends out absolutely stunning on the eyes. And this is the palette that the e.l.f. Cosmetics Rosewater palette reminds me of. They have similar tones. I know you get a shade like, I think this, and maybe kind of like that in the e.l.f. palette. I'm trying to pull that palette to my mind right up front, but I feel like you could get similar tones from this palette too if you have this one, you don't have the e.l.f. and you like the look of the e.l.f. But Just a really simple palette. I love how quick and easy this look was to just throw together. I know some people don't really like the Urban Decay formula. For some it's hit or miss, but for me, I really enjoy their formula. I think that it's easy to work with, it's just effortless, and I think that they're a perfect beginner brand. Like if you are looking to, you know, try out some higher end eyeshadow palettes, but you're not sure exactly which one. Maybe you feel like you don't have, you know, the biggest skill level, which I mean, hey, everybody starts somewhere. That's totally okay. Makeup is all about learning, and I love that. I think Urban Decay is a good option. I think that these are really lovely, very easy to work with. Definitely would recommend this palette. Now, we know I could not talk about a neutral eyeshadow palette video without talking about Tarte. I know a lot of people find Tarte very boring, very just like the basic type of look, but their palettes just speak to me on a whole other level. Thus far, I've never been disappointed with the quality of the eyeshadow palettes, and this is the Sweet Tarte Frosted eyeshadow palette, and I love the packaging as well. Ooh, I need to make sure I turn it so it don't reflect on you really much, but this is another palette that has these really beautiful rosy neutral tones in it, and this is one of the most softest formulas. It's just really lovely. These shimmers really create a very nice impact on the eyes, just absolutely stunning. And I don't know for sure if this palette is still available or not. I know it was a holiday release, I think a year or so ago, but I believe it's still available. If it's not, I apologize. But if you have any of Tarte's other palettes, then you basically do have this color scheme. But I really do love it, and I love the scent that the eyeshadows have, like that really cookie, vanilla-y scent that Tarte has in their eyeshadows. I really love that. If you're going to scent your eyeshadow at all, definitely scent it like a cookie. But this is just a really lovely formula. If this isn't permanent, they really should consider making it so, because there's just something about it that I really love. It's just soft, it's easy to work with, it's pigmented, but not too overly pigmented where you feel like you have to panic blend. That's one thing that I really love about their palettes. Just really beautiful overall. And there is another one that is more warm tone. I'm not sure what that one is called, but I think it's maybe like coffee themed or something. That's a good one too. But if I had to pick between the two, I would definitely go for this one because I love these rosy neutrals. Okay, I got another one from Tarte, and this one I believe is probably the most popular Tarte palette. If you look on bestsellers on like Sephora or Ulta or anywhere like that, this one is usually right up there at the top, and I can definitely see why. This is the Tartelette in Bloom eyeshadow palette. And I can see why people really love this eyeshadow palette. I can definitely see why they love it. It's just a very simple, classic eyeshadow palette. These beautiful tones you have, like very light to deep shades you can work with. Some really beautiful pops of shimmer in here. Just a very simple, effortless palette. It's one of those palettes where I really don't think you could go wrong with any shade. It's just simple, it's easy. And even if you are someone who maybe you're more fair and you don't really like to wear many deeper eyeshadow tones, these shades are beautiful as liners. I've used them that way many times because while I think deep shades are absolutely beautiful, on a more everyday basis, I like to keep it more soft, but these shades are perfect for that reason. I just think this is a very overall well-rounded palette. I feel like everyone could probably use this palette because it does have the light, the mid-tone, and the deeper shades as well. Just simply beautiful. A classic for a reason. The formula's nice, easy to blend, easy to work with. Definitely worth it. Now this next one is unfortunately limited edition. It is still available at the time I am filming this, and I really believe it should be made permanent, and that is the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes eyeshadow palette. This palette is so beautiful. I am sad that it is limited edition. It really shouldn't be. I missed out last year when this palette first released, and then when he brought it back this year, I jumped on the chance to own it. I really do adore it. I think it's worth the hype that it received. It's beautiful. And like the Ethereal Eyes name is just perfect. That's what these shades look like to me. And these shimmer shades are more of like a topper, wet looking eyeshadow, and I love that. That's really just beautiful in a palette like this. It just adds this very beautiful, delicate effect to the eyes. Easy formula, easy to work with. This was actually my very first Makeup by Mario palette, and I'm so glad that it was. I think it's worth every penny, and if you are looking to pick it up, maybe if it's still available during the Sephora sale. I am filming this on Monday, and this video won't be going up till Friday, so I'm hoping it will still be available for anyone who was looking to pick it up during the sale. I think that it is worth it. If you are looking to splurge on an eyeshadow palette, I don't think you'd be disappointed with the quality at all. This is a beautiful palette. This next one is newer to me, but I really adore it, and that is the Lawless, the Dreamy Dozen eyeshadow palette. Now, this is another one that is limited edition for the holidays. This was a part of Lawless Dreamy Holiday Collection that they put out. I really do love this. I think there again, it's just got, you know, the shades you would need. It has the light, the mid-tone, some deeper shades over here, and then these really pretty shimmer shades over here as well to pair up with it. And when I first used this palette, I just went row by row, and I feel like it created really nice cohesive looks just by going like that. So I find that it's one of those palettes where you can open it up and you don't even have to think about it. A beautiful color story is right there for you. And there again, this is a very soft formula, it does have some kick up, but I don't personally mind that, but I do like mentioning it because I know some people aren't really a fan of that. But these are very soft eyeshadows, very softly pressed, very easy to work with though, very easy to blend, and that's what I really love about them because some shades can be just so difficult to blend. And I don't have that issue with this palette whatsoever. I think this is a very lovely palette, and if you are looking to pick it up during the holidays, I don't think you'd be disappointed with the quality. I really enjoyed it when I used it those original 3 times for a video I did here, and I have been continuing to really love it. Okay, this next one is from Urban Decay. This is the Naked 3 eyeshadow palette. This is my favorite of the Naked palettes. I mean, it has these beautiful, rosy, cool tone neutrals in it. It's just such a lovely palette. I don't know. Now, I don't want to say it's underrated because there might be people out there who really, really love it as an everyday eyeshadow palette, but I don't hear it talked about much here on YouTube, unless I'm just not seeing those videos, which is very much likely, but I think that it deserves even more attention. It's such a beautiful palette. I really love it. I love this one. I love the mini. I like the formula. It's very easy to work with, easy to blend out. They don't muddy or anything like that on the eyes. They last all day. I think this is a perfect palette, and if you love rosy neutrals and you are looking to splurge a little bit, I think this is perfect. However, if you don't want to pay the money for this, I think the Nude Rose Gold Perfect 10 eyeshadow palette from e.l.f. is very similar to this one, so if you didn't want to spend the money on this one, then that is maybe a perfect alternative. I'm not saying they're exact dupes or anything, but the color stories are quite similar. But I know that Sephora and Ulta put this palette on sale quite frequently. That's when I purchased mine. I got it half off from the original price point, so I think that would be a good time to definitely pick it up if you don't have it in your collection already. But so lovely if you love rosy neutrals. This next palette is my most favorite palette of all time. And I didn't think anything would pass my Urban Decay Wild Greens palette, but this palette did. This is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette. I love this palette so very much. I don't want to put it down. I don't want to. I love so many palettes. I love all of these palettes I'm talking about in this video, but this is my #1 palette. I would recommend this palette to anyone if they are looking to splurge on an eyeshadow palette. This is the #1 recommendation I would give them. And if they're looking to try Natasha Denona, maybe they've never tried anything from her before, but they're looking to splurge, this one. This is so beautiful. The formula is so nice. Just easy to work with. There again, no muddying, no fading, nothing. Just so easy. I don't want to put this palette down. I have a feeling that this would probably be my #1 palette of the year. And the fact that it beat my Urban Decay Wild Greens palette says something because I love and adore that palette, but this one is just so special. I know that, you know, it's a neutral palette at the end of the day, and some people might not find them all that special, but this palette is special to me. It's just, I don't know, there's just something about it that I really love. I love the shades, I love the mattes, all the different formulas of the shimmer shades that you have to work with in this palette. It's just simply stunning, beautiful, gorgeous palette. Would recommend this one 100%. This next eyeshadow palette I know is a favorite for many, and with good reason. This is the Natasha Denona Glam eyeshadow palette. Just a really beautiful cool tone, neutral leaning eyeshadow palette, and while the mattes in this palette are really nice, the shimmers that you get a lot of shimmers in this palette, and they are so beautiful. I find myself, if I'm not using the matte shades in this palette, I find using this as a companion palette to another one because the shimmers in here are just that lovely. They're that nice. And I love that you have a variety of shimmer tones. You have more of like these silvers, more of like taupey shades, rose gold, and then like a gold pink. This is a really stunning palette. I know that it was super hyped when it first launched, and with good reason. I think it is worth it. It's just such a very pretty everyday palette. And even if you weren't interested in the matte shades, you wanted it just for the shimmer shades, I think it's a perfect companion palette to something else because the shimmers in here are excellent quality. So easy to work with, so beautiful, no fading, no muddying, nothing. Just really beautiful pigment. This is definitely a good one to try if you are looking to splurge and you love neutrals. Now this next one is limited edition and I believe it is still available. I wish they'd make it permanent. This is the Il Makiage in the Kathleen Lights eyeshadow palette. Just so pretty. Now this does have a little bit of pop of like a blue purple shade to it, but if you just take that away, it is definitely a really neutral palette. This palette is so nice. It's so easy to work with, and I had never tried anything from Il Makiage until I bought this collection, and wow. These shimmer shades are so beautiful on the eyes. The mattes are so easy to work with, easy to blend. Just absolutely beautiful, beautiful quality in this palette. And what I love about the front is you do get some stickers that can, and it has a little slide thing where you can put your stickers and then slide this back over it to protect them. I thought that was such a neat touch. Just fun. I don't have any stickers on mine, but I thought that was really cute and fun if somebody wanted to put the stickers on their palette. But really lovely quality. I know this is a pricey palette, but there again, if you are looking to splurge, I don't think you'd be disappointed with the quality whatsoever in this palette. And last but certainly not least, this is the Huda Beauty Naughty Nude Eyeshadow Palette. I think that this palette right here, if you love some rich, beautiful, more warm tone neutral eyeshadow palette, then I think this is a very lovely palette to have. I really love Huda Beauty's formula. I think that is something that they do incredibly well. The shimmers in here, and I love how, I know that mine are kind of where I've used the palette, but I love the marble shades. I love how they just mix and make such a beautiful color. I will say that I'm not a fan of these more eye gloss shades in these palettes. I don't use them. I never touch them in the palette. I don't even think I've ever swatched that. If I have, it's very minimal. But if you look past that shade, the rest of this palette is so beautiful. These are rich pigmented tones, easy to work with, and perfect for this time of the year. Because something about this palette, when I look at it, it just feels so cozy, like a sweater. Like I'm wearing a sweater today. I don't know why I feel that way. I guess because it just has so much warmth in it, and it just makes you feel cozy. For me, I think, when I look at this, I think of like fall, and the holidays are coming up, and such a beautiful palette. Definitely can't go wrong with this eyeshadow palette. It's so, so lovely. I had almost put in her Rose Quartz palette, but that does have a little bit more of colorful shades in it. Not many, just a few more. So I went with this option instead, but I think that one is a beautiful choice as well. This one kind of has this shade, but that's more of like a duochrome that shifts kind of like from a blue to a brown. I don't know if I can really show you that. So it kind of pulls a little more neutral on the eyes than you think, like the neutral undertone, it pulling a little more brown. So that's why I wanted to include this one, but I think the Rose Quartz palette is really beautiful. That would probably be my favorite Huda Beauty palette, but this is so nice. Definitely recommend this one. But there you have all 20 of my favorite neutral eyeshadow palettes. I had so much fun filming this because these are palettes that I really truly love, that I would recommend to anyone who is looking to purchase some neutral eyeshadow palettes. They're simply lovely. All of them have amazing formulas. There's no fading, creasing, muddying, anything like that. I think these are all lovely options, and I wanted to make sure that I had a range of options for everyone. Whether you want to have more affordable options, or maybe you're looking to splurge on some high-end, large palettes, small palettes. So I do hope that you found this video very helpful, and I would be glad to do this with colorful eyeshadow palettes. I might not can do 20 in that video because I don't know if I'd even have 20 colorful eyeshadow palettes. And maybe I could do a top 10 in colorful palettes, but I'm definitely more of a neutral person, you know, when it comes to my eyeshadow, but I think colorful eyeshadow is just as equally beautiful too. And I do have some colorful palettes that I really love, and I could definitely do that video if anyone is interested. But I do hope that you found this video helpful, and if you did, I hope you will consider leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing. And please make sure you follow me over on Instagram at Jessica Dearly. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!